Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Marriage and Miracles. I'm Jason Bovey,
And I am Amanda Bovey.
and we're coming to you from the Move Church in Ashtabula, Ohio.
Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us. If you are new here, we have our show is dedicated to highlighting miracles of today and sharing our own of God restoring our marriage. Bear with us. We are new to podcasting, so we've been trying to find a rhythm, and learning technology has been, hasn't it, babe?
It's been a little rough.
It's been fun. It's been fun. But we are dedicated to sharing, because the Bible says by the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony, we overcome. And so we have said that there are other people that are probably in similar situations that we were, that we
Right.
want to share hope and we want to share our story. And so we thank you for coming along on the journey. And we are going to pick up where we left off. We've kind of been tracking along to really what led up to our separation. So last year we separated in March,
Mm-hmm.
and we were on our way to divorce. Like it
Right.
was set. It was set. We both had divorce attorneys, and we were on the path. We just hit a breaking point in our marriage. So we want to really share, to shed light, I think, for other couples on someone battling PTSD
Yeah.
and just life and marriage and it's hard. Like it's just hard. So last week we kind of ended with
No, it's been more than last week. It's been
2
almost
weeks.
3 weeks since we last recorded.
Oh, I thought it was 2 weeks ago. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm almost sure it's been 3 weeks.
All
It's
right.
been a while.
So we're picking up there.
Yeah. Yeah, we're picking up where we left off. I think
Yep.
we were talking about where you were after, I think we were like maybe post 2 or 3 weeks separation. I think we were talking about where you were at when we left off. Do you remember?
I don't remember
I
where
don't
we left
remember.
off. Kind of just sharing along the journey. I don't think we have a real like timeline because it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
But just sharing for me where I was, and I didn't really prepare.
No. Well, I guess we could start with me. I was, let's see here, 3 weeks into it. I was at my dad's house. I was still staying at my dad's, and I was still going to work, still doing a lot of things, but I was isolated, and I think that was the worst thing that could have happened to me, because I think where we left off, we were talking about how my PTSD was really starting to get to me. And it kind of wore me down
I remember that.
to a point where I was almost not able to function anymore. And now I'm kind of isolated. We're going through the stress of just separating and just breaking up and being in new surroundings and
Which was always hard with, I think, with PTSD.
With me,
We've
yeah.
talked about that.
yeah.
Like one of the things with PTSD, if you struggle with it or your significant other, I think, if someone's listening to this and your significant other struggles with that, I think what I've learned along the way is I'm learning is to be more patient in that because
Yeah.
change is
Well, I was out of my
difficult.
routine.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything was very routine with me, and that
Mhm.
was, there's a reason for that. It wasn't a part. Well, it is a part of my personality, but I mean, it wasn't because I was doing it to be difficult.
Mhm.
I was. It was just kind of part of my my illness and my unmanaged illness. I still have it. It's just managed. I've learned to cope with it a little bit better now. But yeah, so we're 3 weeks into it, and yeah, I guess I remember that night that I couldn't, for whatever reason, I couldn't. It was really bothering me. I was really going through it. My noise, what I used to call it, the noise in my head, and it was burning me up. So I was agitated, severely agitated. I think it was one of my weekends off. Um, so I always looked forward to going to work because at least that kept me busy, kept me occupied. And I had the dogs at my dad's house at the time, so it wasn't like I could just up and go somewhere. I mean, I suppose I could go somewhere with them, but they were dealing with a lot of change um, at the time too. So uh, leaving their surroundings was really starting to bother them. And I think at the time I didn't realize it, but they were picking up on my moods and my agitation and what was really bothering me. So um, I think that was another reason I didn't want to leave them alone. It was I don't know, like a codependency I guess we had with each other at the time. But anyways, it's late. I don't think I had slept in, I don't know, I don't remember how many hours. And it had been probably a couple days before since I'd had a really good night's sleep, and I was just pacing back and forth, pacing. And this is late March at the time, so the weather was really bad. And I was outside, back inside, outside, back inside. I just couldn't, for whatever, I couldn't get tired enough to sit down and relax. Couldn't watch TV. Had every channel known to man.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Hmm.
We're still good.
More technical difficulties.
Bear with
there.
us. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so we or I was just really agitated and tried reading. I couldn't read. I was doing everything I possibly could to occupy time, and I just couldn't. I couldn't tire myself out enough to sleep. So, anyways, as most of you know, and I've mentioned before, when I was extremely tired, that's when it got to me the worst. That's when it would really be the loudest. And so I remember sitting in the chair and I'm watching TV, and I remember this calmness just finally come over top of me, and it was the calmest, most somber feeling, and it was almost like a happiness. It was like, hey, this can all go away right now. Every bit of it can go away right now. And I remember like just being completely calm, and just I hadn't felt that way in a long time, in years, let alone in the last couple of weeks, that it was really bothering me. But I just got really calm, and I remember thinking, I'm like, yeah, it can all go away right now. Like it doesn't need to be like this anymore. And so I stood up and I walked back to the bedroom that I was staying in, and I grabbed one of my pistols, and I came back out into the living room and I sat down in the chair, and I remember thinking, do I want to leave a note? Do I not want to leave a note? Do I want to call somebody first? Do I not want to call somebody first? I think I tried to call you and you didn't answer. And I tried to text you, and I can't remember what you said back to me. It was nasty. It was really bad. And so I I just kept thinking. I was like, do I want to call Maddie? Do I need to call? Do I want to call my mom? Do I want to call my dad? Do I need to call any friends? And then I got to thinking. I was like, no, I don't want that to haunt them for the rest of their lives. I don't want that to haunt them. And then I was thinking, like, well, if I don't say anything, is that going to haunt them? And my mind was suddenly occupied, and I'm bargaining with myself. And um I remembered, it's like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to I'm just going to do it, and just get it over with before I lose my nerve. And I remember thinking, I was like, well, I can't do this to my dad and Diane. I was like, their whole lives are wrapped up in this house, and I don't want to haunt them. I don't want to. I don't want to leave that in their home. And so I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'll just walk back into the woods, and I was like, I'll just go back out into the woods, and I'll just sit down behind a tree somewhere and just do that. And I remember standing up and walking into the kitchen. They got that big, massive kitchen, and Max and Kaiser, they both jumped up and they're like all excited about going outside, and they're ready to go, and I for a second I stopped and I looked at them, and I looked at their food bowl, and I got to thinking, and I was like, well, what about them? If they come outside with me, then they'll be out in the cold, and how long are they going to be out there before somebody finds them, or somebody finds me if they're inside? Like how long are they going to be there by themselves? And so I got to thinking, I was like, well, yeah, I had this brilliant idea, and I was like, I'll just take them over, and I was like, it's like 3 a.m, and I was like, I'll just drop them off in the fence at the house, and they'll be excited to be home, and they'll start barking and scratching at the window and all that, and somebody would hear them, either you or one of the kids. Somebody was going to hear them, so I knew that they would at least be taken care of. And I was like, this is brilliant, like this is great. And so I got all their stuff together, and I packed it all into a bag, and got their food and their food bowls and all their toys, and I put them all into this duffel bag, and I put it in the bed of the truck, and put their harnesses on them, their collars, and got their leashes hooked on them, and I opened up the door, and they ran out of the door, and Max didn't go very far. He stayed right by the truck, and so I opened up I opened up the door. I was like, "Come on, Max, let's go on a car ride." And he jumped right up in there. He was ready to go. And Kaiser, he took off running, and he wouldn't. he kept like running by me real fast. He's like buzzing right by me, and I yelled at him, and I'm like, "Come on, Kaiser, get in the truck. Come on, we're gonna go for a car ride. I'm gonna take you home to see mommy." And he'd run right by me again, and now I'm yelling at him, and I start yelling. I'm like, "Kaiser, get in the truck now!" And cursing at him and just yelling. And Max, he got nervous, and he jumped out of the truck, and he kind of was looking for a place to go hide. He was like cowering down, looking for a place to go hide. And I remember, I'm like, oh, now I got to get 2 of them back in the truck again. And I'm yelling at Kaiser, and now I don't even see him. It's dark, and it's so dark out at my dad's, and there was no stars in the sky. There was nothing, and it's just so dark out there. I couldn't see where either dog had run off to. And And I remember I was like, I just wanted to get it over with. Like I had the perfect plan, like it was going to work out just perfectly. I was going to drop him off, and I was just going to kind of go drive somewhere and just take care of it, just finish it, and then that way there's no house to ruin. There's no nothing. It's just my car and 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 whoever finds me. I was like, it's just such a brilliant plan. And but I couldn't get the dogs in the car. And I remember falling down on my knees, and it's like this kind of snow, kind of rain, and it's cold and it's coming down, and I remember just dropping to my knees, just collapsing to my knees, and just screaming at the sky and cursing God and thinking to myself, I did something good. I did something good, and I've been tortured for 20 years because I did something good and did something good for my country, and I just remember just screaming and having this meltdown, and I don't know how long I was out there. I don't remember looking at the clock. I don't remember what time it was when I came in, but I remember looking up and I could see the moon and I could see the stars, and the dogs. They were sitting in front of me and they were just shivering. Both of them are soaking wet. And they're shivering. Neither one of them really came up to me. They were just kind of sitting there, and I was over it. The noise in my head was gone. I wasn't agitated. I was calm, and I was over it. And I stood up, and I remember looking at those two, and I was like, you guys ready to go in the house? And you guys ready to go in? Running around in circles and jumping on me, and so I opened up the door and I let them in. And that little mudroom part, and it's drying them off and cleaning the mud off their feet, and I'm drying them off. And I remember Kaiser just looking me in my face the whole time I'm trying to dry him off. And Max, who never licks anybody, he was doing the same thing. And I let them in the house, and I remember feeding them, and they eat their food, and I sat down on the couch. I remember thinking, I'm like, wow, this is only Saturday. Like, I've got an entire weekend to get through. Like, how am I gonna get through the next couple of days, And so I'm sitting down on the couch, and I'm wide awake. And Max jumps up on one side of me, and Kaiser jumps up on the other, and I'm petting them both. And that's the last thing I remember. I fell asleep, and I woke up, and I felt amazing. I felt great. I mean, my legs were numb because I kind of fell asleep sitting up. Both dogs were laying on each one of my legs. And
250 pounds of Doberman.
yeah, 200 pounds of Doberman laying on me. And I remember putting my gun back, putting my gun back in the bedroom. And I called my buddy, and I said, hey, man, I need you to come over and pick something up. I just need you to store some things. I was like, I'm safe, but I just need you to hold on to some things for a while. And he came over, and him and I, we BS'd for a while, and I didn't say anything to him. I didn't talk to him about anything. and I didn't want him to worry,
Yeah.
you know, and there was enough people worrying about me already, and I didn't want him to worry. I didn't want him losing sleep over it, and so I just kind of kept that bottled up. I didn't say anything, and so he left, and I remember this fear, of him leaving and being alone again, and so he went, to be with his family. So I started just frantically looking for help on the internet, and
That led you to Operation Restored Warrior.
no, not that, not yet,
Oh.
not yet. I was just frantically trying to find some sort of support group, any kind of an in-person support group, because there's a million of them online, chat rooms. Facebook's got hundreds of pages for any kind of support you can think of. Facebook's got it, but you got to depend on somebody that is online and willing to chat too. You know, I needed to be in the presence of somebody, and at the time I didn't have a church. You know, and the place we were going had, very politely told me not to come back. And like I said, in their defense, they did reach out and offer a couple of things, but it was very watered down. It wasn't There wasn't any spiritual guidance, and I wouldn't have known how to receive it at the time, anyways. And so I came across this support group, and it was all the way in Erie, and it was at a church, and it ended up being, it just depended, 5 or 6 different guys, a couple of girls, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, grandparents, uncles, aunts. There's a variety of people there, and some were addicts. Some of them were, some sort of a mental illness, and very, there was a couple of people there that were. They said they were suffering from trauma, but it it wasn't the kind of trauma that I was suffering from. And you need somebody to be able to relate to you and to be able to relate to what you're saying, because you can't always say the words. You can't always get it out. And it takes a certain person to know when you just have to be there and you don't have to say anything. And you just have to be there, And there was a couple of people that were like that. And it was a chaplain that was running it. He used to be a chaplain. He was a retired chaplain. And he ran the place, and I remember they had the best coffee. Oh, it was so good. Coffee was so good. And they met twice a week, and Wednesdays and Saturdays. And
So did you go there for a while?
I did, and then I remember you telling me about that camp. There was a camp that you were trying to get me interested in going to, and I found one, and I think I remember sending it to you and saying, "Hey, is this that place?" And it was one of the first and only times that you had responded to me. And um, he sent back the link to the place that it was. And I remember going on, and I filled out, the questionnaire, and there was like an email thing that I had to send, and I sent all that. And the very next day, they replied to my email with some contact information and wanted some more information, and I remember him calling me and talking to me, and I remember just the first 10 minutes of being on the phone with him, um, that it was going to be okay, that I was going to be all right, that I have finally found a place that is going to be able to help me and to save me, because at the time I had tried to go to the VA. And remember, I tried to go in January, and I just wasn't asking the right questions, and I wasn't in the right place, and they sent me upstairs and downstairs, and this wing and that wing, to that building, to that building. But this guy, he got right to the point, and he asked me if I was able to buy a plane ticket, and he said, it's going to be a wait, and he was like, there's going to be some time, but if a slot opens up, are you going to be able to make arrangements right away? And I remember telling him my life depends on it, so yeah, absolutely. And he gave me his phone number, and he called me, and he checked up on me all the time, and he knew what my work schedule was, and he really went out of his way to make sure that I was going to be all right and I was going to make that flight. And that was Operation Restored Warrior, and fantastic nonprofit, and they do some good things. And he put me in touch with my cadre, with everybody that was going to be on that at that you know in that session, in that class. And we're coming up on almost exactly a year that I went.
Yeah. He's God ordained.
So Restored Warriors got several different places across the states. And the one that I was going to was Patriot Point, and it's in Maryland, southern Maryland. So I had to fly into BWI, and from Cleveland to BWI, rent a car, drive 2.5 hours south to Patriot Point. And so I had a couple of weeks before my flight left. And I remember just counting days, I was counting days and just doing, I had to go from meal to meal. So I would wake up, and I would eat breakfast, and I'd say, okay, I just have to make it till lunchtime. And then I'd have lunch, and I'd say, okay, I just have to make it to dinner time. And bargain with myself again and say, all right, I'm still feeling good. I just have to make it until it's time to go to sleep. And I did that every single day until my flight left. And I remember him telling me, he gave me this prayer, and I was supposed to say the prayer out loud all the time. And every time I could feel that noise starting to kind of bubble up in the back of my mind, he'd want me to say that prayer out loud. So I did, and And I kept saying it, and I remember it giving me so much hope. And and I was excited to what was on the other side of it, you know. And there's finally a little bit of bright light after a month and a half. Um, so I I get on the plane. Or I mean, I'm it's T-2 days, and I remember him telling me. He says, you know, there are forces out there that are not going to want you to make this plane. He said you need to do whatever you can to make sure.
Right.
He said there's going to be so many things that are going to try to stop you. He said your mind's going to play tricks on you. He said there's going to be supernatural forces out there that you just don't understand that are going to try to stop you. And, these things don't want you clear of this. They don't want you healed of it.
That's very true.
And so I packed myself up. I think I was packed 2 days before I was supposed to leave. And I had it all worked out. My dad had just gotten home. And he was going to watch the dogs for me. And he was going to make sure that they were all right, while I was gone. So that morning came, and I got up, and I remember leaving them and driving to the airport. And my flight left really early. It was like a 7 a.m. flight. Maybe it was a 6 a.m. flight. I can't remember. It was early. And I remember going, and I was like, oh, man, I forgot to stop for gas. So I stop, and I fill up, and, of course, it's really cold. It seemed like the pump was taking forever, and I just remember thinking, oh, my goodness, it's an hour and a half to get to the airport. It's an hour to get through security. It's, I'm still fine. And so I take off, and I'm cruising down the road. And I get to about Menor, and I've got to go to the bathroom so bad. I've got to pee so bad. And I couldn't hold it anymore. I pull off and I find a gas station, and I use the bathroom. I run back out to the truck, and I get back in. I'm heading back to the airport. I'm like, oh, man, this is going to be tight.
And traveling was very stressful.
Yeah, traveling was super stressful for me. It was, it was just very, the anxiety was just at an all-time high.
But you got there.
And I get on 480, and I'm heading to Berea to the airport. And my GPS is taking me off the exit, but the exit is closed. And they're doing work on the exit. And I'm like, oh, no, this can't be happening. I have no idea how else to get to the airport from there.
Isn't it crazy how that guy was right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are supernatural forces that the enemy will set up against you.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I have to go an extra exit, and I get off at the NASA exit on the other side of the airport. And it's wheeling me around, and my GPS is trying to recalculate, and it's not showing me being on any road whatsoever. And it's just like a blank field that I'm driving across. And so I'm just following this other traffic, hoping that they're heading that way. And I get into the airport, and the first two long-term parking lots are closed. The ones right there near the parking deck, they're closed. They're full. So I had to park at the one way over by that hotel and walk. And I'm running across this parking lot, and I'm running across the parking deck. And then I get into the actual airport, and I get checked in, and the line for security is so long. And I tried cutting in line to get up there. They were searching everybody one by one as they went through with the dogs. And everybody was going through security one by one, one by one. And then they opened it up to 2 by 2, or 2 people at a time. and the dog was sniffing them, and then they'd walk. And I missed my flight.
You missed your flight.
I missed the morning
know
flight.
that.
They're calling my name. They're calling my name. I'm trying to tell security this is me. He's like, hey, man, I don't know what to tell you.
I didn't know.
I don't know what to tell you.
What'd you do?
So I missed my flight. And I go over to the ticket counter. It's like, there's no way I'm going to make it through security. And she's like, well, why didn't you tell me? I said, I did try. I was like, I did try. I kept saying that that's my flight that's leaving. So they booked me for the next one. And
when was the next one?
The next one wasn't until 1 p.m.
Oh.
Yeah. So I waited in Cleveland Airport for 5 hours waiting for another flight, which is fine. Mm-hmm. And I went and I bought a couple of books and kind of thumbing through them, and I ate.
And that's the Lord, though, because before, like, when frustration hit, you would be so, like, that's it, we're leaving. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, so that was like a testament of the Lord and your surrender to, like, really go, because if I could see that
you need to talk into this because I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I can see, like, in the past, it would have been like, that's it, we're leaving.
Yeah.
So that's I think that speaks to your surrender. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I thank you for sharing that, honey, because that's really, really difficult.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's very open about this story, and I think that's why we're so transparent about it, because for someone that is battling PTSD, we're both very passionate about 22 veterans a day. Mm-hmm. So, we just want to share this freely, and God is a God of miracles. God is a God of miracles.
Absolutely. And that was just the beginning. Mm-hmm. So.
And maybe on the next show we'll share more about your experience at Operation Restored Warrior.
Yeah. On the next one, we'll pick up where we left off, and we'll talk about. It's when my faith was restored. Mm-hmm. So.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. And until the next time, we promise we'll get one out on time next time.
We will. And, just before we close, I just feel the Holy Spirit that if you are battling, that is a spirit. That is a spirit. And it's very loud and it's very cunning. And I think that just to highlight how the calm comes in when that is, you know what I mean? Like right before, when you're like, oh, I could, like, this could all go away. It's like there's a calm. That is a spirit.
Baiting you.
Yeah,
it is. Baiting you into
it is baiting you into it. And so there is hope. And God is still the God of miracles. And, he is living proof of that. And I'm so thankful. So we just want, I know we don't know people, and there's people we don't know that are going to watch this. But, if you reach out to us, we'll be happy to pray. And I just want to encourage you to grab a hold of Jesus's garment.
Absolutely.
And don't give up. So I really feel led to say that before we close. And we will see you next time. We will get a show out. We thank you for your patience, because we're new to technology. And isn't it like almost every time we come in here, we're like so frustrated with technology. Yeah. We're like, it's hard to even keep going. And so
it is.
we're like, do you want to pray? Because there's so much tension.
Right.
Just we're so frustrated with technology. So we appreciate your patience. And, we are praying for you, and we are believing that God is going to use our story in this miracle to just really save marriages and save lives. So we love you. Be blessed.
Yep. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yep. Bye. Take care.